afternoon. I'm the Reverend Charisma Jean-Marie, the Director for Racial Justice Ministries at Scarritt Bennett Center. We're excited today. This is our part 2 from a 2-part series. What does it mean to be a Black man in America? Youth edition. We have this afternoon with us partnering with My Brother's Keeper, a nonprofit organization chapter here in Nashville, co-chaired by Lionel Matthews and Ashford Hughes. We're so excited to have them. And with them are youth, young Black brothers, young youth that are here, young Black youth that are here to share their stories. And we're just so honored to have them with us today. As I stated last week, this is an important conversation, and we invite our guests to lean in, to hear, to listen, to be active listeners, that you might be able to hear the stories of our young brothers that are here tonight, so that you're doing self-reflections and ways that you can become a co-conspirator to dismantle racism in your own family, with your own family, in your own community, and the world as a whole. And so we ask you to be active listeners and not to react by things that you hear, but to sit with, even if you're uncomfortable, to sit with these stories and to ask your question, why am I reacting this way? If there is a reaction, we invite you to be with us tonight, this afternoon, because we're really excited about what these young brothers have to say. Our motto here at Scarritt Bennett Center, we believe in radical hospitality. And so taking care of our guests is our #1 priority. So I shared with them earlier today, and I share with you, this is sacred space and their stories are important to us. And while we invite you to share in the comments, any comments or questions that you have in the comment section, we also want you to know our staff is on standby to assess the comments, and anything negative that we see, we will delete, because hospitality is justice for us. And we want our guests to know in our presence, they are safe and sound. So thank you again for joining us. I'm excited to introduce our moderators tonight, this afternoon, Ashford Hughes and Lionel Matthews, who are here with us, who will also introduce our guests. I turn it over to you, Ashford. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Reverend. We are happy, excited to be here with these young men, to partner with Scarritt Bennett in this effort. So we thank you. We're excited. On behalf of My Brother's Keeper, Nashville, we really focus on 3 key tiers, 3 key milestones that we're trying to achieve right now. One is literacy, and having young men of color being able to read by a 3rd grade level. The second is making certain that kids, that young Black and brown boys, are prepared to graduate high school and then to excel going into college. And the third one is that we make certain that we want to provide second chance opportunities for those young men that may have slipped up along the way, but they still have guidance in them and opportunities to really boom and be successful. So today is going to be a great conversation. Before I give a quick introduction of myself and the youth perspective when I was growing up, I want to just acknowledge some of the young men that will be participating today. And as we get started with our icebreaker, they'll really introduce themselves along the way. So today we have Brother Tillman, who is a rising senior from the University School of Nashville. Brother Edward E.J., a rising senior from John Overton. Brother Kendall, a rising junior from MLK. Cameron, a rising 8th grader from MLK. Jaden, also an MLK student, right here in the heart of Nashville. Some great young men. Before I introduce our other 3 moderators who are going to be key in this conversation, I'm going to make certain that, one, we stick to time, that some of the adults on here don't get to speaking too much, but also that this is a free-flowing, open conversation. But I do want to time myself for 3 minutes just to give my perspective as a young Black male when I was growing up around these young folks' age. So I personally grew up in a single-family home, the oldest of 2 brothers, and my perspective in the inner city, Knoxville, Tennessee, was from a lens that was very, very Black and white. because that is the way Knoxville is right now. African Americans in Knoxville only make up about 16% of the total population. I grew up with a lot of young men that grew up in single parent families, that grew up like me in areas of housing developments and blighted, marginalized communities. Yesterday, I celebrated, or I guess celebrated may be the wrong word, but held in memory my best friend who was killed 22 years ago in an alley in Knoxville, Tennessee. And that's really changed me as a 19-year-old college student to kind of gauge to where I really wanted to be moving forward. Growing up, being a Black man to me meant a couple of things. One, there was always hostility against the police because they were never viewed as being a partner in the community to my friends. They were always the people that locked people that looked like me up. My lens also growing up in the neighborhood, man, where Black meant culture, being cool. How did we hang out together? Who went to school with each other? Who was doing things that earned a lot of money? A lot of pain was instilled in my childhood based off of being in a home with a mother and a grandmother that raised me, but not having a father there. So being Black to me, manhood was shaped in what I saw in the community. And a lot of the men that I looked up to, that I was looking at in the community, had big cars with big rims. They had all the flashy clothes, the young women with them. So early on, that was my point of view of, man, I have to be like that if I want to be successful, right? But at the same time, while growing up in a faith family, I also had an alternative perspective that I knew my parents, my mother, my aunts, who were 3 teachers, instilled in me education. So they introduced me to a gentleman that guides me today, Malcolm X, the autobiography of Malcolm X. That also guided me into what I thought the picture of being a Black male was when I was 16 to 20 years old. All of these experiences, my best friend that was killed wasn't the only young man my age that was killed during that time frame of growing up to be a young man. There were at least 3 or 4 other close friends during that time. And many of my other friends were locked up or in jail as well. It was a lot of trauma that I had to experience that helped me now to get to want to strive to work with you young men moving forward. So my experience is what a Black man meant to me from 16 to 25 was totally different than what it is shaping right now. And I hope that we can show you the differences that, you know, mentorship and Black males have for our families can process moving forward. I want to kick it off to my 3 cohorts that'll be on here working with me in this process. First, I'm gonna jump it off with Lionel Matthews to give 3 minutes about his perspective of growing up as a young Black man and what he's doing now.
Thank you, Ashford. My name is Lionel Matthews again, like Ashford said. Hopefully I won't be a full 3 minutes. My perspective growing up as a young Black man in this country was very similar to Ashford's. 14 years ago, my brother was shot and killed, a victim of gun violence, and that has really affected the work and everything that I have done to this day, even working as the Davidson County Juvenile Court Clerk, wanting to really change the trajectory of young people and young Black males and make sure that that type of trauma does not continue to exist within our community. But even before that, my parents were unique. I grew up with both parents in the household. We grew up in the 37208 zip code, which many have come to know in the past couple of years as the zip code with the highest concentration of incarceration of Black men growing up in that zip code in the country. And so I grew up in that zip code, but my parents were village builders very early on. And I recognized that they were very intentional about surrounding me and bringing adults in my life and even other young people. They were very conscious of me and my friends and who I surrounded myself with, just putting positivity around me my whole entire life. And so from a very young age, I can remember teachers pushing me, coaches pushing me to do more than I thought that I could do myself. And I don't think that was by accident. I think that was by design. And when I did become an adult, and when I got to college, and when I, after college, started trying to figure out life and what I wanted to do, that village continued to grow. And that's the type of father that I try to be for my children now. I have a 5 and a 3-year-old, and I try to build that village for them and make sure that they have those same type of supports that I have growing up. And that's what I'm trying to do for all the young men that we're working with in My Brother's Keeper. I want to make sure that we're building that village, we're building the infrastructure, we're building the support that you all need to be as successful as you all could be. And you all really are the generation that's going to go above and beyond, especially when it comes to the African-American community and our history in this country. You all are the generation that's going to break the barrier, break the mold, and we want to do everything we can to propel you all to where you need to be.
Eric, brother Eric Capehart, same question for you.
Man, you know, I think if you ask a room of 100 men to talk about their childhood and what it means to grow up, I think we all have similarities in our story. I'm just listening to you, Ashford, and also Lionel. I mean, I grew up in a household with all women, actually. I didn't have any males in the house with me. It was my mom, and I had 4 sisters. In the communities that I lived in, there weren't a lot of older men that we looked up to because they were, you know, in the streets hustling or doing whatever they were doing. But the men that we did find to be the ones that were worthy to look up to were like the coaches. I grew up in South Nashville, where we spent a lot of time. I grew up in Sevier Park Community Center. And if anyone that lived in South Nashville, like in the early 90s, they knew of a man named Edward Mullins, who was the director of that community center. And he was like a father figure to all of us in that community. I had coaches, Coach Hathaway. Those were the men who I was able to look up to. Those were the men who I could learn little things about how to be a man from. I always say that as an athlete, as a young person, the game, not necessarily the coaches all the time, but just playing games and organized sports taught me a lot about life as well. Taught me about how to plan and how to anticipate the next move and how to be prepared for anything. And so I had that going on. In my community, there were like older boys that were, one of my friends is like a brother to me to this day. He just kind of took me under his wing and just kind of mentored me from a young age. And even to this day, he still serves that to me in my life today. And I saw a lot of, I remember my first friend that was killed, Michael McKinnon. He was killed out in out South Nashville in the projects, and he was shot on his front porch 9 times. And I was just struggling with, like, how do you shoot somebody 9 times? As a child, that's a lot to have to take in. I grew up with my mom. You know, we were on welfare because, you know, she was a single parent for most of our upbringing. And so just learning how to have grit, you know what I'm saying? Learning how to make ends meet, learning how to provide, you know, for yourself, which, I mean, I'll be honest and open. I used to sell drugs when I was younger because it's not because I wanted to be like a gangster or like be in the streets, but it was just a way to have money in my pocket, a way for me to have food. And so I had a gun, you know what I'm saying, as a young person, not because I wanted to shoot anybody or anything, but it was just like a part of this is what you have. You know, you got to have a gun in your pocket and you got to have money in your pocket in order to be, you know, like a man or somebody. But, you know, those things didn't really lead to anything positive for me in my life. I got expelled from high school because I got caught with the weed. I mean, I never got in trouble with my guns, but, you know, that's just a part of what I experienced growing up. And later in life, you know, it's funny, people ask me, how did you become a mentor and how are you such a great mentor and your father when you never had that in your life? And it's because the one thing that my mom and the influences that I did have in my life, they taught me right from wrong. So I always knew what was right. I always knew what was wrong. But for me, I was like pushed the limit, and I would only go so far before I would go too far and derail my entire life. And so that's what I use my life's experiences to help other young men. Like I mentored hundreds of guys in my organization, All the King's Men. I use those experiences to be able to relate to them, to say, hey, you might find yourself in this situation today, but that doesn't mean you have to stay in this situation your whole life. And I've learned from my mistakes, and those mistakes and the lessons that I've learned, I just share those And I enjoy sharing it. Like, I realized that's my purpose in life, and which is why I'm now a counselor. I realized that as a mentor, I was helping so many people, and I would realize that mentorship is critical. It's one part of the puzzle, but I would also notice that there were a lot of mental health and psychological and emotional things that were going on that I wanted to help address as well. And so that's why I became a counselor. So to sum it up, man, my life as a young Black male in this country, I was oftentimes undervalued, you know what I'm saying, unappreciated, pushed out to the margins, but I was still able to build a resiliency through all of that I'm able to share with young people today. And hopefully I will continue to share, not hopefully, but I'm pretty sure I will continue to share that throughout my life. And the lessons that I've learned are the lessons that I will share. And hopefully that many people will learn from the mistakes that I made in my past. So, I mean, it's just a collective thing, man. That's what I've learned. And that's a part of my experience, growing up as a Black male in the United States.
Got you. Appreciate that, Eric. And before we get to our real conversation, let me head over to my co-pilot today for these questions and this conversation. Malik, kick us off, Malik, and let us know, your experience in 3 minutes as well.
Oh, so I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi, and Delray Beach, Florida. Quick backstory on that: I moved to Delray Beach, Florida, to escape poverty and violence. I'm 23 years old now. I'll be 24 July 21st. So around the age of 15 to 16, that's when it started getting real for me. So from the age of 15 to now, I'm 23, going on 24. I'm probably at about, and I hate that I gotta think or come off the head with it, but I'm probably about 12 or 13 childhood friends who've been, and not just second or third party, but childhood friends who I was with a lot of time, like I was highly invested in my life, to be killed, not just through natural causes, but gun violence. And growing up, and that's just because I always played sports. I always had some type of ball in my hand. So a lot of those guys, I cried with, bled with, sweated hard with, won championships, lost games, things like that. So, I'm probably at about 13 now. But just being a Black male in America, my experience was similar to you all's. It was pretty traumatic. But one thing I did realize, because I'm like a glass lemonade half full type of guy. So I always try to find the beauty in everything. So I always look at it like, so I look at it like it's precious. That's one thing that I gained from it. That being you guys' age, the younger guys, at you guys' age, I realized that it was precious. With us, with a justice system created to, I believe, and you guys may agree or disagree, but I believe that this justice system is made to humiliate the people of our color, of our stature. I believe that it's very precious. Even to this day, I have to catch myself, like when I'm on the road, when the sun is down, sometimes I have a habit of wearing my hood on. And my mom would always tell me, like, look, I don't care what you do or what you're doing, but when that sun come down, your hood needs to be off. If you just going to the grocery store, if you just going to a friend's house, do not drive with your hood on. So I realized those things were precious because, I mean, one hood at one piece of fabric at 7 o'clock at night could cost you your life. You know what I'm saying? And growing up, I realized that growing up being a young Black male in America, that we were born to lose, but when you look at it, we're built to win. You know what I'm saying? So I use that as fuel. So I just make sure I realize that we're that precious to the point where it's certain things that we can't do. So instead of saying, well, how come this person of this skin color can wear that hood at this time of night, but I can't? I look at it more as, well, you know what? That just means I'm more precious than that person. So just growing up as a young Black male in America, I realized that our lives are precious, delicate. And you look at a car like a Mercedes-Benz, they always tell you what, don't buy that car unless you're able to pay the maintenance on that type of car. You know what I'm saying? So I look at us as we're that delicate. We're not made to do certain things or be allowed to do certain things that other people are, just because that's just how precious we are. That's just how unique we were made. So that's how I look at it on the positive tip.
Man, powerful. Well, I want us to go ahead and kick off so we can hear from these young kings behind us and on the screen with us. Lionel, go ahead and kick us off with the icebreaker so these young men can introduce themselves to the world and we can hear from them now.
Cool, Asher. So we're going to do a quick icebreaker. This is called Young Kings Categories. And I'm not going to lie, I stole this icebreaker from my wife. She actually does it with couples on a podcast that we co-host together. But I just switched up the questions and so to make it appropriate for our conversation here. If all of our young kings, all of you all can unmute, you all have to be unmuted for this portion of the icebreaker. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask each of you all to name a letter for each question I'm going to ask, and I'll call on you when I want you to name the letter. But when I call on you, I also want you to introduce yourself, give us your name, and also give us your favorite subject in school, all right, before you give me your letter. All right, is that okay? Sure. All right, so Cameron, I'm coming to you first. Give me a letter. Any letter in the alphabet.
K, I guess, it's my name, first letter.
K, okay. And give us your favorite subject in school, Cameron.
Probably science, I guess.
Science. All right, I like science too. I was more of a math guy, but definitely like science. So any of our panelists could answer this question, all right? And you have 10 seconds to chime in, all right? And your answer has to start with the letter K. That's why I asked them the letter. All right, your answer has to start with the letter K. And this is just gonna be a good one to test it out. Name a hip hop artist.
Wow. A hip hop artist. I could probably think of one, but I could probably say one, but
come on, just give it to me. Starts with the letter K. 5 seconds. None of you all have a hip hop artist that starts with the letter K. Camp. There you go. Okay, K. Camp. EJ, K. Camp. EJ said K. Camp. All right, good one. EJ, you got a point. All right, EJ, since you answered that one, you give me the next letter.
M.
What's the letter? M?
M, yes, sir.
Okay, the letter is M. Give us your favorite subject, EJ.
Math.
Math. All right. You my type of guy. Name a food that you like to eat that starts with the letter M.
Mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes. Anybody else? Come on, we got 10 seconds.
Macaroni.
Macaroni, okay. 5 seconds. Anybody else? You got Jaden and EJ. 2, 1. All right. Come on, get y'all thinking caps. Tillman, Kendall, Cam, we gotta get in the game, okay? Let's go to Jaden. You gave me an answer. Give me the next letter.
S.
S? What's your favorite subject, Jaden?
Science.
Science, another science guy, okay. All right, so S is the letter, y'all. Name an HBCU, a historically Black college and university that starts with the letter S. Oh, come on. Oh, y'all should got this one. Spellman. Come on, now. That was the first thing that came to my mind. Okay. Any others? 3, 2, 1. Okay. Y'all got Spellman. If y'all didn't get Spellman out of any of them, I was going to have a problem. All right. So let's go to, who said Spellman first? Jaden, were you the first to say it?
I think it
Tillman.
I don't think
like 3 of y'all that said it at the same time. We'll go to Tillman next. Tillman, give me a letter.
P.
P. All right, the letter's P. What's your subject, Tillman? Favorite subject?
I like history.
History? All right, cool. Storyteller right there. All right, so P is the letter. Name a place outside of the United States you would want to visit. Starts with the letter P.
Panama.
Panama?
Sure.
All right, EJ. EJ's going to Panama. Come on.
Pakistan.
Where, Kendall?
Pakistan.
That starts with the letter P?
Pakistan. He said Pakistan.
Pakistan. Okay, I thought he said oxtail. I was like, what? You broke up a little bit. Anybody else? 2, 1. All right, Panama, Pakistan. That's cool. No Paris? Nobody's going to Paris? All right. It's all right. When y'all fall in love, y'all will go to Paris. So let's see. I had Kendall. Have you given me a letter yet?
No, I haven't.
Kendall, you do the next letter.
D.
D?
Yes, sir.
All right, the letter's D. Give me your favorite subject, Kendall.
Science, like science.
Science, another science guy. Okay, name a good career outside of music or sports. The letter is D.
Dennis.
Dental hygienist.
What'd you say, Kendall?
I was going to say dental hygienist or dentist.
Dental hygienist, okay. Anybody else? 5 seconds.
Doctor.
Doctor. 2, 1. Okay. We got dental hygienist, doctor. Good answers. All right, last one. Let's see. That's everybody's giving me a letter. Let me go. I'm just gonna pick the letter for you for the next one. All right. Let's go. L. Sorry, Lionel. L. L is the letter. All right. Name a Black TV show or movie.
Good. Oh.
Love and Basketball.
Love and Basketball, my man. You on it, Kendall. Anybody else got one? 5 seconds. Love and Hip Hop. Okay, that's a Black TV show. Y'all just gonna stay down that love road, huh? 2, 1. Hey, appreciate it. That's the icebreaker. So now that we have you all warmed up, we're gonna turn it back over to Astrid and we're gonna get into the real conversation. Thank you all.
Thanks, Lionel. So this is the first question that we're gonna ask, and you all jump in and ask. We're gonna give y'all a couple of minutes each to answer this, but how are you guys as young Black men holding up right now during this COVID stay-at-home process? And what are you doing to find release and to express yourself right now? Go ahead, EJ.
Well, I'm just like, usually when it's not like this, I'll be like at practice, or I'll be doing stuff for school, or I'll go visit my brother on the weekends. But since I've just been at home, I've just been like working out and doing stuff around the house, cutting the grass, stuff like that. I guess I've been really just, up until this Friday, I've been occupying myself with school. And so I've just been doing, because I was just really bored over the weekend, so I just look up educational stuff and just really, since I like history, I'd look up history things. And so that's how I've been spending my time.
Over the past few weeks or days, I've been jogging and I've been going certain places, doing football drills, trying to get better at football. And then during this quarantine, I've worked on math, and I think it was math and history, and just some more stuff to occupy myself.
I've been frequently reading, and I've actually been pursuing running, like long distances. As well as that, I've been engaging in a lot of school-related things to keep myself occupied and productive throughout the pandemic. So yeah.
Can I go?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, like what Kendall said, we've been we've been like, well, not now since it's like summer kind of now, but for the past month or two, we've been like having a school schedule like about like 8 hours maybe. We've been like studying each subject like about like an hour 30 each, and to like keep ourselves like in shape, we'll be like going outside after, like maybe like throw baseball or like play basketball a little bit. And yeah, we also been just like writing to keep ourselves, like we have a little journal we write each day.
Up until a couple of days ago, I've mainly been kind of studying for AP exams, but now that I have a little more time, I've been running a little. 'Cause I do track, and our season kind of got cut early, so I've just been running around. That keeps me occupied, and I've also just been talking with my friends and stuff, like over calls and the usual stuff.
Did everyone have a chance to first answer that question? Because Lionel wants to follow up. Lionel's going to follow up with Tillman on his response. But did everybody have a first response, able to answer that question first?
Yes, sir.
From everyone. Go ahead, Lionel.
Yeah, so Tillman, before we got on the call, we were just chatting, and you were telling me that you're starting football practice, I believe next week. Can you talk about, going back into an activity like that, being that we've all been quarantined and locked down, and what instructions or parameters has the school given you to go back into an activity?
Yeah, so we're starting next week on Tuesday, and when we get an hour before we get there, we have to take a test that it's just basically like a health test to see if we're cleared to go. And then when we get there, we get our temperature checked, and we split up into groups of like 8 or 9, do our workout, and we're not allowed to stay on campus after the workout ends, so we have to leave immediately. And like we can meet up at other places, but we just can't be together on campus when the workout has ended. And yeah, so it's really just getting ready. So we're all kind of stiff right now because we haven't really done much in the last couple of weeks. So we did a couple workouts over Zoom calls. And then yesterday I went to work out with a couple teammates, and I was gassed. I was not ready for it. So I'm gonna have to do some more stuff before I get back on Tuesday, because it's gonna be something to get ready for.
Man, go ahead and kick us off with the next question, Malik.
I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with the recent situations we've been having in today's world with Ahmaud Arbery and things like that. So can you all share how it feels to be black males in America today, considering things like the Ahmaud Arbery situation is going on, and just seeing on social media how the murder rate for those type of situations have been going on? Could you all explain to me, or could you all share with me, or share with all of us, how it feels to be a black male in today's world, considering you can go to social media by the click of a thumb and seeing that the murder rate is just going further up in that field? We can start off with you, EJ.
Well, for me, like my mom always tells me to be cautious about doing stuff. Make sure my appearance is okay, like people won't jump to conclusions and stuff like that. And even today, like how advanced we are now as a society, seeing that like stuff like this can still happen, even if you're not putting yourself in those situations, it's kind of like scary. But also going to social media and seeing like the awareness of it is getting better and better, like to where it's spreading. It kind of makes me feel better about it, because like if it keeps spreading out, then more people are going to be aware. It's going to be easier to stop it. But at the same time, it's still happening. So that's what I think.
Okay. Kim?
You said Cameron?
Yes.
Oh, Kendall. Oh, okay. Well, I think it's pretty sad, like how the world is, and like how like different perspectives of view a young black man. But yeah, like our parents, like we had to at least like look decent, so like we don't look like too like conspicuous, like we're about to like do something like bad or something. That they tell us, we have conversations like if like a police pulls you, like just like listen, do what they say at all costs. And yeah.
Okay. Tim?
I don't know, like just going around being in public, it's like I can just feel myself change, because every time like I see someone look at me, I always think like they're probably judging me or something. Like they think I'm dangerous. And so like I always notice whenever like someone looks at me through their side eye, and I'm like, I need to back up because they think I'm probably gonna do something to them. And so like whenever I'm in public and I see like strangers, I like to smile real big so that people don't think I'm a threat and things like that. And I just don't really like living like that. Like it's not a problem, but it is, because like it doesn't hurt me to do it, but I know that I really shouldn't have to be acting so hard, like trying to look not like a threat when like everyone should just know inherently like I'm probably not a threat, like, and I don't want to feel like people assume I am. And also it's scary, like with all the murders going on, like it's kind of scary to think that there are people going around living their lives and then just a couple hours later they're just gone. And then in a lot of cases, like it's getting recorded a lot more. And now I'm thinking like there's no guarantee that I won't be the next kid on everyone's Instagram feed with the little like warning that says like you might not want to see this video, like graphic content ahead. Like I don't want to be that kid, and I know that someone is going to be that kid. And I just think like it's just scary just to be like in that position.
I honestly feel like it's crazy how I jog down my street and then I get a side eye from somebody that lives on my street acting like I'm not supposed to be there. And then it doesn't make sense how we get labeled for something. Like we're getting labeled. You don't even know us as a person. You don't know what we do. You don't know how we react to things. And then it even comes sports-wise, because some kids, well, some coaches tell kids this is their only way out. And I see kids posting this is their only way out. It's not their only way out. They have other ways. They have academically. They don't always have to leave in an athletic way out. So the stereotypes, like the stereotypes that we have they don't meet the expectations that we know that we have. Some kids, they're just, they want to lead that path because it's cool to them or their friends think it's cool, but like, I don't know, like, I don't believe people know what we have to go through every day just to feel regular or normal in a society like this. I'll do something normal, jog down my street, I get side-eyed. For what reason? Like, it's confusing to me.
Yeah, man.
Chime in, Jaden or Kendall.
This may be kind of like a pessimistic point of view, but with like these recent killings and all of that, it's not really, in my opinion, it's not really anything that's shocking, considering it's been happening in our nation for years and years. It's more disappointing that it's still going on, but with the society that we're in, I don't think it's something that can go away immediately. But like someone else said earlier, I forgot who it was, but they said, I think it was EJ. He said, he was talking about how the awareness is growing, and I think that's true. There's a lot more things going on social media. There's not, at least from what I've seen, there's not as many cases where people will get off scot-free from the things that they do. But I wouldn't say that I'm kind of surprised that this is still happening. So,
go ahead, Kendall.
Honestly, being a Black African American in America is like a life full of toil. I feel like I have to work like a tenfold amount greater than anyone who is not a minority to achieve the equivalent what they have. And I can definitely agree with Tillman and Franklin in regard to like implicit bias. And whenever we went to the gas station, I noticed that like the cashier would just give me like suspicious looks or like reservations of my intent and what I'm planning to do. I feel like, well, the killings in regard to the recent murder, I feel like it's very cliche, and it shouldn't be that way because that's just, it's not humane. And on another note, I think people like superficially judge me, like they consider me as a black kid with earrings. So I just want to be myself, and I just can't really express myself in my true fashion without the fear of being judged.
Man, I want to get Eric, the counselor, to follow up on two things I heard from Franklin, and then the other one just now from Kendall. Franklin talked about feeling regular or normal during this time. And then Kendall said something, sometimes being a young black man is a life full of toil. And that struck me innately because growing up, I felt that way just from, being in my neighborhood, inner city, what that felt like. Give us a perspective from the mental health side of things. How do we work with our young men that are feeling this, where they can express themselves and not keep that bottled up? And how do we do that as a community?
Yeah, I think, man, that's a great question. As for one of the things is that we as men have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. As men, we grow up thinking that it's weak to tell somebody how you feel, or, you're not a man if you have any type of emotion. But I'll tell you this, it's your right to feel how you feel, whether it's sadness, whether it's joy, whether it's anger, whatever you feel, it's your right to feel it. And you need to be in a space to express that without judgment. A lot of times it's like we put this on ourselves. I think I heard Kendall just say, we have to work 10 times harder to do this and that. I think this is what I think. I think it's really time to eliminate that whole belief system. I'm a parent. I'm not going to tell my kids that they have to work 10 times harder than a white kid, because it's conditioning them to think that, when it's not necessarily the truth. They just need to work hard at whatever they do. Society is going to view them how they view them, but you have to live from within, guys. You have to learn how to tap into how you feel on the inside and be okay with it, and find comfortable spaces and places like this to be able to express that, because when you repress it, it only leads to problems down the line. A lot of guys hold in their anger and then they end up exploding on the person who may not need to be exploded on, or they express that anger in a negative way because they weren't able to express that in a way that they felt that it was respected. And so, Astrid, I really think that us as men, we have to learn to be vulnerable. And the reason I say that is because vulnerability, to me, is an accurate measure of courage. It's an accurate measure of courage. So if you can say, yeah, I'm sad, or I'm angry right now, or I'm feeling whatever I'm feeling, I'm in my feelings. If you can say that and to share that, that shows you that you are courageous enough to express how you really feel. And so I think we need to continue to have these talks. And guys, young guys, just remember this, like, it's your right to feel how you feel. And holding it in is not necessarily going to be the best way to manage or regulate your emotions. Getting it out, finding someone that you can trust, talk to your parent, talk to a friend, talk to a mentor, find somebody that you can talk to safely release those emotions.
So I had a question I want to ask, but I want to piggyback off of this right now because I think it's important. How do you all as young Black men, how do you take self-care for yourself when you're having these thoughts? How do you release that energy to say, man, I have to get this off? Like, how do you take care of yourself, one, and then how do you release this energy of the frustration of emotions within you?
Whenever I feel some type of way, I either lay in here listening to music, or I'll go outside, play basketball, or work out. But like, it depends on my mood. If something angers me, I have to do something to get it off my mind. But if it's like, if I'm actually in a deep thought, I'll just lay down and think about it. I'll just like let everything overflow, play music, lay down, listen, think deeply. But like anger, I just let it out outside, or like on the football field or some way.
Anybody else?
I try not to let it like anger me. Like I understand that it's a thing. Like it's not gonna go away right now. It's gonna take some time to go away, like how we are right now as a people. But like I try not to like let it get too far down into my head to where it makes me angry, because you can't really do anything about it. You're just getting frustrated. You know what I'm saying? Like you can get frustrated and that's how you feel, but like at the end of the day, it doesn't really affect anything, you know, unless you do something about it.
Anybody else? Kendall, you want to elaborate, or Jaden?
I agree with what EJ said. A lot of the times I try to not let myself get too angry about certain situations, because I feel like I'm not necessarily in the position, or like I don't necessarily have the power to do something right now. So in the end, I just get mad for no reason, and there wouldn't really be much that I could do about it. So I feel like just remembering why I'm angry or why I'm feeling certain ways is going to be useful for me in the future when I have that power to do something, or when I'm in that position to actually make a change, because then I'll still remember why I was feeling those emotions. So.
I have like two different approaches. The first approach is like I'll try to muster the courage to like pray to God and ask for like allow me to forgive the people who just sort of like afflicts me without them directly expressing that. And then also I'll try to express my feelings to my mother, and then we'll just engage in like pretty profound and deep conversations and ways to mismanage.
Man, Malik, I want to ask you this question as well, as you are the oldest panelist, but you still are under that 27-year-old, 26-year-old age, but this is affecting you as well. Growing up, you know, knowing these emotions that you had as a young person growing up, how did the perspective around the police frame, or this context frame, your understanding of the police in your community? And did that have a way that built a lack of trust within the police, within our communities, from your perspective?
For sure. I joke around all the time, but I'm serious, but I joke and say all the time, three people I'm scared of in this world. God, number one. 2, police. And 3, my mama. but man, number 2, the police. Just seeing how they mistreat and how they mishandle cases of people that look like us, it trust just deteriorates daily. And man, like it's to a point, and this the God honest truth. It's to a point where I can go places and I'm as innocent as ever. I've never been arrested. I've never ever tried a drug in my life, anything. And even when like a police I'm in the same area, my stomach, I get a feeling in my stomach. And man, I grew up, I'm originally from Jackson, Mississippi. And everybody know, when I tell people I'm from Mississippi, they think we still got dirt roads, and they just think that lynchings and things like that, they think those things are something you see every day. And we do deal with, it's very racist in that area. And the people my age, I have friends who have decided to deal with their problems in different ways other than going to the system or going to the police about it. And we being transparent, you know, those people are like, you know what, I'd rather not go tell the police, and I'd rather go handle it myself, because if I tell the police, then boom, I might get caught up in a situation that I can't get out of. And and a lot of you guys, I love that you guys are talking about being aware. 2 things I know: when the police pull me over, if the police pulls me over, they're gonna ask 2 things. They're gonna ask where I'm going and where I'm coming from. So already when if a police is approaching me, because I've had police bust into my grandma's crib while I've been there, and have all of us on the wall, and you know they're gonna ask you those questions. So I'm not afraid to admit that I'm scared of police, or that there is something that triggers me. But at the same time, since I know that that's something that I fear, I'm also prepared, and I challenge myself to embrace, face that fear and be ready for whatever they have for me. So whatever question they're ready to ask me, I got it for them. My license registration, I have it for them. They want to know, if they want to know about what I do, what I do for a living, I'm ready to tell them. So that pretty much sums it up. Like,
man, a real situation of that. So growing up, as I said, you know, the police were never really viewed as friends of the community, because they either came to lock you up, chase you off the block, or they just were never viewed as like, hey, they're here to really help keep the community safe. Man, I'm 40 years old. I wear a suit and tie every day for the most part. My father, 2 young boys, I'm married, so I'm pretty much straight and narrow. I'm washed, as y'all say. I'm washed now, right? When the police get behind me, man, I'm telling you, instantly, even today, I put the hands on the wheel like this, and something in my stomach still, and even though I know police officers, friends with police officers, something in my stomach still bubbles up to say, man, I need to get straight right now, right? And Eric, you know, that's mental. That's mental, man. That's mental fear. Like, oh my goodness. So I'm gonna go to Cameron, and then I want Eric to follow back up on this. But Cameron and Tillman, when you see the police, what does the police presence in the neighborhood mean to you? What is the relationship that you feel the police have with our Black community, especially young Black men? And then I want Eric to follow up with the psyche of the police in our community.
Yeah, I guess it's the presence of the police. I mean, in my neighborhood, like, I don't live around a lot of Black people. So when they're here, it's kind of confusing. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing here. And so I always just like get scared if they're ever around my neighborhood, because I'm the only Black person, like this only Black family for a considerable distance. And if the police think that I shouldn't be here, then I'm in trouble. And I feel like when the police go to Black communities, they're also just like, they're just looking for trouble. So like when they're coming, really just police anywhere, they scare me, because I always just like feel like I should be like, I drive a little bit straighter, like I keep my head up, like 2 hands on the steering wheel. Like I do everything perfectly whenever I'm around them. And I don't know, it really just shouldn't be like that, because I used to think that the police were like always fun, because I lived in a neighborhood where they weren't scared of us as we were scared of them. I just walked around with the police, they were friendly with my neighbors, and so they were cautious with me. And so I always thought that was weird. And so as I grew up, I found out like what was really going on, what that relationship was like. And so yeah, I just think it's their presence kind of, their presence makes this more often, because I mean, when you like look down at like crime statistics, 90% of the crimes in like counties and areas, they happen on specific like streets. Then the police, they don't care about that. They go everywhere. Like if a crime is committed within like a mile radius of like a neighborhood, they check that neighborhood and every neighborhood around that neighborhood. And then that just creates like a sense of fear and like distrust through the entire community that I feel like really shouldn't be there.
Go ahead, Cameron.
We don't really like get police like come in our neighborhood like that. But when you do like see, if in the case if I like do see a police in our neighborhood for like whatever reason, I just probably just try to like look friendly and innocent as I can, so they don't think like something's up. And how I really view the police is really I know like not every like police is not like that. Like some are actually like nice, so but I just try to like just be like innocent as I can, and like say like hi, how are you doing or something.
Anybody else want to chime in on that one before we move on?
I would like to say something. So I feel like as African American males, especially young males, we're kind of nurtured to be on the defense when it comes to police. So we're not like, initially, we're not really put in a positive mindset about them because of all the things that happen like in our society and to the people that look like us. So I feel like naturally we're kind of just predisposed to be just more cautionary towards them. And like Malik said, I have not done like any illegal things. I don't do drugs. I'm a good kind of like academic student. I do sports and all that. I'm invested in my community, but like if I see a police in the area, I'll be really tense and I'll just feel like I might have done something wrong, especially if they're like kind of looking at me or something. So even though I haven't like done anything, it's more just that like predisposed kind of feeling that you need to be on the defense. And I feel like that's just because of all the things that are happening to us.
Eric, man, talk about the psyche of young Black men and the police and what can be considered at times a police state within our African-American Black communities.
I'll start it by saying I think it's interesting that, Cameron and Tillman, they say they don't live around areas where police are a lot or may not even come into contact with the police, but when they see them, they try to straighten up or, look polite or try to seem less intimidating. I think that goes to the psychological impact of the cultural conditioning in this country that Black men is synonymous with criminal. And when you see it on the TV every day, Black men being killed, unlawfully by police officers, you see us, constantly seeing us in a negative light. There's a psychological impact to that. And these guys are voicing their psychological impact of it, When you see that so much, it will make you feel a certain way. And our white counterparts don't have any experience with that. I'll remember I was talking to a white guy and I was telling him that we have to teach our kids how to put our hands on the steering wheel, what to say when you get pulled over and all these things, the right things to do. And he was kind of shocked that that's a part of the Black experience. And he almost didn't believe it. And I'm like, you can ask any Black person, any Black man, if this is true, and they'll tell you that it is. So I think it's, I really do think it's the psychological impact of the cultural conditioning that we see in the media so much that Black men are criminals. And if we encounter the police, we have to try to seem less, aggressive or less Black to some degree. And I see the questions about the I'll call it Black on Black crime, which maybe you guys want to save that and address it at another time. But many people ask us, what are we going to do about it? And it's like, I've never heard anybody say anything about white on white crime. I've never heard any other race, Asian on Asian crime. And so that's not something that we put on ourselves. Yes, Black people do kill each other and do crime against each other, but that's a locale thing. That's you commit crimes against the people who are around you. But to go back to the question, Asher, I really think it's just the psychological impact of cultural conditioning that makes us get nervous. Even though we're highly educated men, we're fathers, we're not criminals, but when those blue lights come on behind us, you get that sinking feeling in your stomach because of what you've seen and heard throughout all of our existence in this country.
Reverend Jean Marie, do we have time for one more question before we go to the questions from social media?
We have a lot of questions from social media, so yeah, one more.
Okay, well, I just wanted Malik, feel free to answer this one as well. So you all as panelists have talked about, your parents telling you to dress a certain way, to straighten up and do certain things, to be protected as young Black men. What do you wish that your white classmates or friends, what do you wish that their parents, what are you hoping their parents are telling them as they go out and go to school with you all and interact with you all as well? What do you hope their parents are preparing them for moving forward?
Perspective, like just perspective. And perspective in the sense of seeing things from a different lens. I'm not asking you to agree with everything that I'm saying, but at least challenge yourself to, or at least look into the way I have to go about life as well. So when I say perspective, I just want them to be able. I just want them to, go from their microscope to mine, and then just look at mine and just kind of focus in on how I have to carry myself and just doing to others as just treat others as you want to be treated. The people the other races that I do associate myself with, they're great people. They're great people. If not, I wouldn't hang out with them, or I wouldn't associate myself with them. But I do want them to teach I do want the parents to teach the people of other races to just have perspective and just be understanding of what other races have to go through, especially us.
Franklin, what about you?
Is basically perspective, because my friends, not my friends, but classmates, they'll see what we're going through. Some of them, they'll try to relate whatever they got going on with us like it's the same, and it just puts me in an awkward situation, because we'll see a cop car go by while we're in school, and then they'll just look at me like I'm a criminal. I've done nothing. I haven't done anything against the law. And my first question is, why'd you look at me? Why was that your first reaction? I've been here with you. I've done nothing. And then it's like, they'll try to quote unquote ease the pain with stuff that they'll try to relate to you to. Also, like, they'll bring up stuff about fathers, or like they have friends who are in jail too. And it makes me uncomfortable, because I get what you're trying to do, but like, use your words right, because the way you're using it seems like I'm being targeted right now.
Wow. Reverend Jean Marie, I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off to you for the questions on social media.
Thank you. First, let me say, on behalf of Scarritt Bennett, thank you all so much for this such important conversation tonight. And most of the comments really is speaking to the appreciation of you being willing to be vulnerable and share. So thank you. There are several questions. This question comes from the audience, and anyone can speak. Answer it. Once you have experienced the trauma of racism, what do you do to care for yourself? How do you let it go?
Well, for me, it's always like in the back of my head. Like, I'm always like self-consciously thinking about it. Like, it's I know it's gonna be a thing, but like I said earlier, I try not to let it get to me, and I try to just like let it ease out, because again, getting angry isn't really gonna do anything, or like making myself feel some type of way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can let it go. I don't think it's an issue of letting it go. I think it's something that needs to be addressed. Whether, like, again, you got to find an outlet to like this, to talk about it and help you realize that you're not going through it alone, and how you feel is valid. You know, all of us on this are saying the same things. When we go out into the world, we have to try to act less aggressive or seem like we're not criminals just because we have dark skin. And I don't think it's an issue of letting it go. I think it's more of so an issue of properly dealing with it, and not letting it get to the point to where you end up having an anger outburst. So I don't think it's an issue of letting it go. Like, I've been handcuffed. I've had so many negative encounters with the police, never been arrested. And it's just not something that I'm able to just say, oh, okay, just let it go. it's something that stays with you. It's just like any trauma. Trauma doesn't just go away. It stays with you, and you have to properly heal.
Mm-hmm. I guess the way I kind of deal with it is really I just try to remind myself that like we're not outnumbered. Like we're the majority, and like there's a lot of people who don't believe in racism, and there's a lot of people who would take my side on this. And so I don't know. I just like to think of like, of course, there's always those bad people, but I have a lot of allies too. And so I always remember that I experience like a little bit of racism every now and then. And so just after that, I would think like, man, I could think about like 100,000 people who would hate to hear the thing that I just heard. And so that honestly is how I deal with it. It just makes me feel better to know that a lot of other people will hate what just happened as much as I did. And I know hate's a strong word, but I have a strong hate for that. And yeah, I just know that I got allies, and that's really just what makes me feel better about it.
I'd like to just say as an adult, I agree with what Eric said about letting it go. I think when you experience racism, even as an adult, and we experience it too, you don't forget about it. Addressing it means, I think when Eric says addressing it is you cope and not let it affect you and how you operate and the things that you're able to do. But me personally, I've experienced it on social media, and I'm a public figure, and I usually will not give it attention, but those comments, even if people are trolling, I may want to say something and I may want to respond. And so I do have to, go to people I confide in and talk about it and talk through it, because at the end of the day, I don't want those comments or those actions to affect the outcomes and the things that I'm trying to achieve on a daily basis. And so it happens. We're not going to be able to avoid it happening, but we can control how we respond to it and how we do overcome whatever impact it may have on us that may be disruptive to our daily lives.
Here's another question. Several panelists mentioned conversations that their parents have had with them about how they dress or behave around police. What conversations do you as panelists wish white parents had with their kids about race instead?
Don't judge everybody. Basically, like don't judge people. Mm-hmm. Get to know them yourself, see how they react, see how they are. Don't base your beliefs off of stereotypes or of what you heard from this person, and the person you heard it from might not like Black people. You can't. It's your decision, but it's also like it's your decision whether if you want to be friendly or already throw a label on somebody that you don't even know.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Cultures, and it's all right to like have your own like questions and just like wonder what it's like to be Black and things like that. But like, don't treat it like it's so new. Because I hate when people say stuff like, what's your, like, can I touch your hair? And then I had like one girl ask me one time, like, does your hair get wet? Because I didn't happen to have like a hood on while it was raining. And I just couldn't handle that, because I was thinking like, is it really that hard to comprehend that we're all different? And like some people just act too like they have a child like when they look at me, and I just don't get it. I feel like I'm some petting zoo animal that they've never seen before. And it's just weird. Like it makes us feel weird, and surely like and their peers, they see it too. And so they look like a fool around their like, so yeah, that's one thing I'd say. Like, don't treat us like you've never seen us before every time you meet us, and just understand that there are some things that you won't know, and it's okay to ask, but just don't ask like it's the question like of what does the universe mean. Like don't ask like it's that. Just be like, hey, what's it like to be like this? And then so like be respectful about it.
You know what? That's the whole, and that's why going back to talking about how I'm not even gonna say I believe, I know we're precious, because my biggest question is normally, is it that we're just these aliens, or do you all, that's why I feel like behind strong hate is love somewhere. Like you look at, like going back to how you saying like, oh, can I touch your hair and all of those type of things. That's why I feel like I strongly believe that it's more so of, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, if you look at our culture, our culture has always been taken from us and remixed, or like people like to say, it's been gentrified. So really, is it that they don't like us, or do they just want to be us that much to the point where they feel like the best way they can be us is to take our culture, cage us up, like throw us in jails, kill us, put us in the graves, and then they can do anything they want to do with the things that we brought up. You know what I'm saying? That's my biggest thing. Like I just wonder, like, do you all just hate? Do you really not like us, or deep down y'all love us? Because really, you look at it like, you look at the different, you look at the other cultures. They want to go get the same hair we have, and I even see people want to go get fake locks, and people go to. I used to get, and this honest, I used to go to a private school when I was in 4th grade. And the private school I went to in 4th grade, I hope my mom is watching this because she could vouch for me. It was probably 4 people. I was in 4th grade. There's probably 4 people, and that included the whole middle school and elementary of how many people was in the school. And people used to talk about my bottom lip. People used to talk about, because naturally, you know, our lips are more, you know, but full. I like that word, full. But it's more full. So as I got older, I started realizing, like, oh, okay, you talking about my lip, but guess what? Your people pay for them. Your people go to the doctors and say, hey, I want my lip just like Malik's. And I just train myself over and over like that. And I just look at it like, man, they want to be us. And that's why it's really beautiful. And it's precious to be a black male, black women, just our culture, just as a whole.
Kendall, I saw you nodding your head. Just quickly, in 30 seconds to a minute, tell us your thoughts on that. I saw you nodding your head. Sorry, Pastor.
No, you're good.
Just wish that white parents were like frank and candid about like our innovations, our creativity, our ingenuity. I hope they concede the fact that like everything that exists in this world has rooted and stemmed for our own innovations and creativities. And I just want acknowledgement for our contributions to modern society.
Good, that's good. So this question is for the young fellas that's on tonight, because the criminal justice system has come up, police officers, and so I want to know, you know, the question is, how do you understand the role of police in your neighborhood up against your experience with police in the neighborhood? So what were you taught in terms of the role of police in the neighborhood, what they're supposed to do versus your experience, whether it's firsthand experience or secondhand experience? I think that is important to understand. So let's hear from the young people.
Kick us off, Jaden.
Well, I don't have too much firsthand experience. I think I'm a little lucky in that fact because I haven't had too many firsthand like negative experiences with police. But at the same time, I haven't, because of like I'm a Black male, I haven't been taught many positive things about the police. It's just been things to like, you know, protect myself and how to act in those situations. And so I just feel like in general, it's kind of like a negative thing when it comes to the justice system and like the police. There's not many positive aspects that we could really see. And I know there are plenty of police officers who are out there who are like actually good people and try to protect their community. It's just I don't think we experience that as much as we experience like the negative kind of aspects to them. And we definitely don't see it as much as we see it on like social media of all the bad things that are going on. So
There's nothing, I've never had a bad interaction with a cop before. There's always two things that happen. One is like the cops at my school. I'm cool with all the cops in my school, not because I get in trouble, just because I'm a nice person in general. They know what type of kid I am. If I'm in a situation, they'll bail me out because they'll know I'm not that type of person. Or two, if I'm like, I'll play outside, I'll sit on my front porch. It's always something going on down my street with somebody. It'll be 4 or 5 cop cars. They'll either roll by, mind their business, or they'll roll by, look at me, I look at them, then they roll past. Like, it's not really bad, but I'll say the second one with the cops, I guess they think I have intentions, but I don't, or like they're just inspecting me for something. I don't know, but I've had nothing bad going on with cops. There's nothing that I've done to bring the cops around my area for me, but secondhand experience, I've seen I've seen people get bad interactions with cops around my area for me. Honest, I'm gonna be honest, half of them was their fault because they reacted the wrong way. They just started shouting, it's because I'm black, it's because I'm black. But like, you can't use that as a grudge. And the other ones, they've just, once they followed the orders, everything turned out to be good.
I'd like to follow up on that.
One more question. I'm looking at the time, so, but I want to get some of the audience questions in. I'm going to direct this question to Cameron. Talk to us a little bit about what do you think, and we mentioned this, what do you think about the violence amongst your peers, and why is it so prevalent, and how do we stop it? Is it, the question I think, because there's an assumption in that, is it so prevalent in your own personal experience, and how do we stop it?
Well, like we always have like protests, and like we like a lot, like we have like a lot of protests, like but like the thing is, like even like back when Martin Luther King, like all their protests just so we can have like equal rights. To this day, it's still not really fair. And like I'm not saying we can't do anything about it, but we've tried so much to do something about it, and we're still not benefiting equal rights. Like we're still protesting, and even like 50, 60 years ago when they marched, I don't think we can like really, I'm not trying to be negative, so we can't do anything about it, because we've tried so many times to do something about it.
Yeah. EJ, tell us a little bit about your experience, whether it's firsthand or secondhand experience with crimes in the Black community. Tell us about violence among Black people in the Black community, and why do you think it's so prevalent? Why do you think it happens so much, and how do you think we can stop it?
I think that the reason it happens so much is that it's a mindset that like, oh, if I can't get ahead of this person or be better than this person, then I got to do something to them, or else I can't get to this place where I want to be at. And it all comes down to, I think, like how we raise like the youth, and like how we interact with each other. Like how do I say this? I think it's like how we teach each other to interact with each other, and how we come together, because we got to be more unified together as a people to rise up and do better for ourselves.
Yeah. Kendall, do you think that the racism that Black people experience in the country affects the way we treat each other as it relates to Black on Black crime?
Quite ironically, it does. Like ideally, we should, like EJ said, we should like form a legion and not backlash, but in a sense, unite for a common goal of rising against the odds of the justice system. But Black on Black crime, I think it's, I honestly think it's like a manifestation of anger from police brutality. And yeah, I think that's why it occurs in America.
Mm-hmm. Jaden, what are your thoughts? Black on Black crime.
Well, like people have said previously, I think it's not really something. Sorry, I kind of lost my thought, but there's a lot of violence in the community, in my opinion, just because, like they've said before, I don't think there's not a greater sense of community within certain areas, in my opinion. I think it's more of people are kind of just raised to kind of fend for themselves and just fight against something that may be opposing them. And a lot of the times that can be other people, and just the situations that they're put in will oftentimes put people against each other. And I feel like if there was more of a sense of just community and seeing that there was a greater enemy for like things like the systematic racism and the justice system and things like that, instead of each other, I feel like if we had more of that mindset, there'd be a lot less violence.
Nice, thank you. One last question before I turn it over back to Ashford, and this is for any one of you young brothers on here. How many of you would like to be a police officer one day or want to work in the justice system? And is there a reason why?
I wouldn't, because I think Black officers, this may be, I don't know if it's true, but my practice says that they use justice system as like a gateway to escape oppression from like white police officers. So yeah, I wouldn't want to be one.
Okay. Someone else would like to answer?
I wouldn't either, just because like I see it happening, not happening, but like a black male would get pulled over by a Black cop, and then they just think, oh, I'm gonna get a easy pass. But then when a Black male becomes a cop, he feels like he has a whole bunch of power over regular Black people, and then he starts to abuse that power, and then he just acts like the normal average cop that us Black males fear every day. And it I don't know why, but it fears, like, it makes us feel more, because it's like one of our own brothers, and he he's I can't find the right words, but like he's turning into what we've been fearing almost in our everyday life.
Wow, thank you. Thank you all. We end the session for questions, and I turn it back over to you, Ashford.
And in this short period of time, I'm gonna ask Lionel to take 1 to 2 minutes to encapsulate MBK 20 under 20 and the call to support MBK's efforts. And then I'm gonna kick it over to Eric for 2 minutes to make the universal call for Black male mentorship and for Black male mental health engagement. Kick it over. Go ahead, Lionel.
Thanks, Ashford. Yes, we are launching this upcoming fall our first class of the Top 20 Under 20 Fellowship for MBK Nashville. This fellowship is for any young man of color between the ages of 11 and 20. And right now our nominations are open. And so Nominations could come from anyone in the community. You could be a parent, you could be a youth service provider. Young men, if you want to nominate yourself, you're free to do that. Nominations could be made at bit.ly/20U20 nominations. That's bit.ly/20U20 and spell out nominations. All right. And we will accept nominations until June 15th. Our application period will open from June 1st until the end of June. And then we'll be making our selections in July and notifying the young man that will be participating in the fellowship in August. We're not looking for the smartest young man. We're not looking for those that have the behavior awards. We're looking for men that have heart, hustle, determination, discipline, and drive. If you have those, we're wanting to pour and sow leadership seeds in you to help cultivate the leaders that you're going to become as adults.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, man. So, I'm charged with putting out a call for men to become mentors. And I'll just say it like this. I wrote a book called The Miracle Maker, Uncovering the Hidden Miracles in Mentorship, because I really, truly believe that a mentorship relationship is the fertile ground for miracles to happen. Once you start that relationship, many years later, that young person is going to come and tell you all the great things that they've been able to experience in their life just because you took the time out to be involved in their lives. I think here's my process to become a mentor. Find someone to connect and commit with. You got to find, you don't have to do an organization. My Brother's Keepers is a great thing to be a part of if that's what you can do, but you can be a mentor in your neighborhood. Just find a kid, connect with that kid, find the commonalities that you have and commit to being in that person's life for a specific amount of time. Mentorship is a long thing and you need to really be sure that you're going to be committed to it. Even if you just say, hey, I'll mentor you for 6 months, 1 year, just find someone, connect with that young person and commit to them because you will be in a position to create miracles, not only in their lives, but in your own life as a mentor. And mentorship is so important to me. I think everybody should be able to do it. There's a lot of young men that need that guidance that we don't have it. And so I think it's a major call and be sure to commit to it. I think that's one of the biggest things I can say is, don't start the relationship if you can't commit to it. Now, as it relates to mental health, in my practice, I see about 90% Black males. And the recurring thing that comes up is anger. It's anger about something. It's anger about their father not being there or their father being there physically, but still not being there, emotionally or psychologically. And so, guys, it's time to reach out for help. If you're struggling with anger, if you find yourself on edge, irritated all the time, not sleeping well, not eating well, those are some of the classic symptoms that you may need to find someone that can help you deal with that. And so mental health is cool, man. We got to make mental health just as cool as every other part of physical health. Working out, your muscles, you got to work out your brain as well so that you can live your absolute best life. So if you're looking for a mentor, if you want to be a mentor in your neighborhood or join an organization. If you're looking for a counselor, you can come to me or any other counselor. I can help you find a counselor anywhere. You can contact me at ericthecounselor.com. But either way, guys, we got to help ourselves become better men.
Reverend John Marie, we want to thank Scarritt Bennett again, my brother's keeper, Eric the counselor. We appreciate you all for opening up this great conversation. We hope that you saw a glimpse of these courageous young men and what they mean to us as Black men that have now all graduates of Tennessee State University, HBCUs, what it means for us to want to continue to lead and to serve in this community, really to serve our young Black boys. And that's why I'm involved in MBK and why I wanted to be a mentor, because of the promise I made to my best friend who was killed, promise I made to his mother that I was going to change the predicament of the situation of young Black boys that look like me. So I'm proud to keep fighting in that work moving forward. But I'll kick it back over to you, Reverend, and thank you again for allowing MBK and Eric the Counselor to be a part of this event this afternoon.
Thank you. On behalf of Scarritt Bennett Racial Justice Ministries, I want to thank each and every one of you for your time, for your stories, for being vulnerable. This is a very difficult, emotionally driven conversation to have. And you were bold enough. Your boldness really have given us a model, regardless of gender, regardless of race, regardless of religion. You've really created for us a model of how to have these difficult conversations in our own homes. So thank you so much. To my brother's keeper, I'm so grateful for this partnership today, and I look forward to ways that we can continue to partner to move our missions collectively together, not just in the city of Nashville, but in the world. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Tune in next week as we partner and be in conversation with Black Votes Matter. It is still an election year. In spite of our tornadoes we've experienced here in Nashville, in spite of the pandemic all over the world, in America in 2020, this still is an election year, and it is so important that we are civically engaged. And so tune in next week as we talk about the risk, what's coming up in November, and why it's so important for all of us to be engaged in our civic responsibility. God bless you. Have a great one. Bye-bye.